Hello everyone, this is Stephanie. Welcome to another video. So today we're going to work on this necklace, and this necklace uses some of the beads from the Beadingschool.com Signature Box 2026, and this is curated collection by Erica. And these come out every year. They do a signature box, and this one is just filled with the most gorgeous beads. Look at these gorgeous giant 18 by 25 teardrop or pear fancy stone, and the 10 by 14s. We've got some kite beads. There's so many beads in here. I did not use them all, and I did add some of my own for the chain, but for the most part, everything that we're weaving right here is from this box. So let's get a materials going and we'll get started. Okay, so we're going to get materials going in a second, but I just wanted to show you this one because I used all the crystals from, well, most of the crystals, especially this big one, from the box. So I had to just go through my stash and pick out some others. So I thought it might be fun to do it in a completely different color and just kind of show you how one can look. Let's see if I can get these both on my hand. And you know, I put it on my hand often just so you get a sort of a size, so you can tell what size it is. It's hard to tell when it's just laying on the mat, but against my hand you can see, you know, pretty much, you know, how big it is. But here, so this is the one from the box, of course, and to me it's very vintage looking, and I absolutely love that vintage look. Really, really beautiful. But you can take that same design and you could make it into a more modern piece. So I mean, this piece looks like you could just, you know, throw it on with a pair of jeans and a, you know, I always say a white t-shirt or whatever, or a tank top, and it just looks less dressy to me, maybe because of the color and because the stones are more opal stones. So just to give you a look and see that you can have one design and it looks one way, but just change the color of the beads and it looks completely different. So here you go. All right, let's get a materials list going and we'll get started. Okay, let's get a materials list going. So I'm going to give you all the materials from that I'm using on that I used on this necklace, and this version I will list all the beads, you know, colors and everything in the description box below the video. All right, so you're going to need that 18 by 25 millimeter pear fancy stone, and you'll need, so that's this one right here, and then you'll need 2 of the 10 by 14 millimeter pear fancy stones. So right here, you'll need some 3 millimeter bicones. I'm going to pull in a little bit. I put this out just to show you what the stone looks like before, you know, when it's not bezeled. You need some 3 millimeter round beads. You need some kite beads, and these are kind of cool. They're fun to work with. You'll need some 11-0 seed beads. Now this is from my stash. You'll need some delicas and some 15-0s. Now mine got all mixed up, so I'll show you really close up. There's that delica. That is in a Duracoat galvanized matte champagne. So we see that delica right there. And then you'll need the 15-0 in Duracoat galvanized champagne. You'll need some jump rings. I've got some oval jump rings here. What else do we need here? We have, so for the chain or the necklace part, now this is where I added beads. You'll need some 6 millimeter, round beads, pearls, whichever, you know, whatever you want to use. So 6 millimeters. And then I have an 8 millimeter fire polish. Isn't that gorgeous? So one of my viewers sent me several strands, and I'm so happy to be able to use them. They're so gorgeous. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? All right, so you need those, or anything you want to make, use your chain, you know, you want to make your chain out of. I've got some 4-pound Fireline. I've got a size 11 beading needle. That's what I used, I think, on the whole thing. Let's see, did I miss anything? You'll need your clasp. So here is the clasp that's already on here. So I used a different one on the video, on the tutorial. So I think that's everything. A little stop bead. So I'll list everything in the description box below the video. The box, of course, if you would like to just, you know, purchase the box. And then I'll also see if I can find, you know, the stones in the same colors. I'll list that in the description box below as well. All right, so I think that's everything. So should we get started? Let's get started. So thread your needle with about 40 inches of thread, put on the stop bead around the middle. So I'm going to use one of the crystals from the signature box because I did both of my blue crystals. I don't have another one. So we'll continue with the blue and green theme, but I'm just going to do the bezel with this stone. So here we go, 30 delicas. Sew those into a circle by sewing through the first bead after my stop bead. And then I'm just going to continue all the way around to reinforce. So just go through all the beads again. And I'll meet you at the end. So I've come all the way around and I just came past where my stop bead was a little bit just to complete the circle. And if you notice, my beads are not buckling. You do not want these beads to buckle. You want to keep them as straight as possible. So you want to keep a sort of a loose-ish tension. Loose-ish? You get what I mean. Let's do a little square stitch around this. So we're going to pick up a 15-0. So I'm kind of, holding my thumb on it like this to keep them straight. Exiting the delica, picking up a 15-0. I'm going to sew back through the delica I'm exiting and the next one. Pick up a 15-0. Do that again. Going back through the delica I'm exiting and then the next one. Make sure that sort of pops up like so. And then again, 15-0, exiting this delica right here. I'm going to sew through the other side of that one and then straight on through the following one. And it's just going to place all those little 15-0s on the edges of the delica. So go around most of the way because we're going to change it up a little bit. So go around most of the way and then come back and we'll finish the end together. Okay, I'm coming down to the end. A couple more to put on. I'm just going to put on one. So exiting right here. I'm going to sew back through this one and then the following one. And then I'm going to leave that space right there without a 15-0 on. So we have just a delica right here. So just like that. And you see how it's nice and straight. It's not all buckled. Try to keep that as long as possible. So I advanced my needle. See, this is where the missing 15-0 is. So I kept going a few beads just because I want to reverse direction and sew the 15-0s together. So I need to be past here a little bit. But I still have that little delica just sitting right there with no bead on top of it. So I'm exiting and one of the delicas, a few delicas down, and I'm just going to reverse direction and I'm going to sew through all these 15-0s. I'm just going to pass the delica, just sew through all the 15-0s. Don't worry about that one. It's going to, that delica is going to kind of pop up a little bit. See, like that? So just sew through the beads, go all the way around, and meet me at the top again. Okay, so I've come through all the 15-0s up to the top here again. See here, this is where the delica is that I didn't put the 15-0 on, and here's that little thread. I'm going to pick up a 15-0 and I'm going to just place one there and sew around again. And that's just going to kind of make the point a little more apparent. We're going to meet up at the top again because I want to connect this bead to the delica. All right, so come around again. Don't pull super tight, but nice tension, and then meet me at the top and we'll do that little connection. So come around the 15-0s and I'm exiting that little 15-0 we put on. You'll be able to tell it's kind of sticking up a little bit. Here is the delica that I want to attach to. So I'm exiting the 15-0. I'm going to sew through the delica, back through the 15-0. Like that, and that's going to connect at the top. I know it's hard to see, but once we put the stone in, you'll be able to really tell. So over here, I squeeze it a bit. See that? Okay, so you're connected. And then you can do that again if you want. You can just go around again, or you can just completely reinforce again, and then we will put the stone in. Okay, so the back, we're done with the back for the moment. We're going to go on the front. Now, I did go ahead here because I did lose a clip, but we'll get to that in a second. So here on the back, here's where your 15-0 is attached to your delica. Just make sure that's showing. You know what? Maybe push it up a little bit just so you don't lose it. Maybe get a little squeeze in like that. Once we put the stone in, you know, it will all stay in place. But now we're just going to turn on this side, and let's pretend like I don't have any 15-0s on there. We're going to do the exact same thing we did on the other side. So exiting a delica, picking up a 15-0, sewing back through the one I'm exiting and the next one. Get my needle in there like so. And I have a feeling that this is, now my camera's too bright. I don't know, I might have to have it repaired. So another 15-0, back through here, and forward, a delica. So we're just going to do that until we get up to the point, and we're going to duplicate what we did on the other side. And so we'll do that together. Okay, we're approaching my little point here. So here's the delica that I want to work with or want to skip. So I'm just going to keep adding my 15-0s. So exiting here, and so through the one I'm exiting, and then the one on the diagonal, the one forward, like that. One more time. Going, exiting here, picking up a 15-0, sewing through the one I'm exiting plus the next one, which is that big point bead right there, or the, you know, the point delica that we want to skip. And then I'm just going to advance to another, through another delica, and that's going to leave this one, you know, without a 15-0 on it. And I'm going to pick up a 15-0, and I'm going to sew through the one I'm exiting, then the next one, and you could even go a couple more. So now when I look at this, I have here on the back, here's my little point bead, here's the delica that I skipped, and here it is on the front. So we're doing well right now. So we're just going to, you can come down a couple more delicas and then reverse direction and sew all the 15-0s together, just like we did on the other side. Okay, so I've sewn all the way around, and here's where, you know, I have the missing 15-0 that I want to add a 15-0 on. So you can actually put your stone in at any time, and you just want to make sure the point of the stone is up where that delica is. You could, don't worry about it. If it moves a little bit, we can always fix it. And then we're going to pick up our 15-0, and we're just going to sew down through all the beads again. And remember, we have to come around again and attach that 15-0 right there to the delica. So come around and meet me at the top and we'll attach. Okay, so I've come around again. I'm exiting that 15-0. I'm going to sew through, just go through the delica and the 15-0 again to sew those two together. And now is where I'm going to start sort of tighten things up. So you're just going to go all the way around, tighten this front, go all the way around, tighten the back, and, you know, just keep it nice and even until it looks good, and then meet me back here and we'll continue. Okay, so I reinforced several times. So I went through these 15-0s again, I went through the 15-0s on the back again, and also what you can do here is you can just go through all the delicas just with one of your threads. Just come through the delicas. You can also attach again here, you know, just put another thread here, and then come around through all of the delicas to straighten everybody out. I think that's looking okay right now. So go ahead and get 2 of those done, and then meet me back here and we'll bezel the big stone. Let's bezel the big stone. So I've threaded my needle with about 4 feet of thread, put on a stop bead around the middle. So I picked up and dropped down to my stop bead 54 delicas. I'm going to sew those into a circle by sewing through the first bead after my stop bead. And this is what I have so far. Okay, let's do some peyote. So we're going to pick up a delica. I'm exiting the delica. I'm going to skip one and sew through the next one. Just like that. It's going to sit that bead on top of the previous one. Picking up a delica, exiting here, skipping one, sewing through the next one. Just make sure that pops up. I'm just going to continue adding delicas all the way around. So exiting here, skipping one, sewing through the next one, like that. So I'm just going to let you go off and do that. Don't get your beads buckling too much. Kind of keep them nice and fluid. So do that all the way around and then we'll step up. Okay, time to step up. So I'm going to pick up my delica, exiting this one. I'm going to skip this one. I'm going to sew through the next one and then the one on the diagonal. So just like that. So this is what I have so far. Carefully don't twist. I'm going to twist it a little bit here. I'll just straighten that out. So we're going to add another round of delicas now. So we're just going to pick up a delica. I'm going to sew through the sticking out delica, delica, through the next one. Just going to do this all the way around and then we'll step up. Okay, so as I'm going around adding my delicas, I'm just keeping my thumb sort of in there and, you know, my nail, and just giving just a little bit of pull to get some of a curve going. So we meet the end and we'll step up. Okay, let's add a round of 15-0s. So exiting a delica right here. I'm going to just pick up a 15-0 and sew through the next delica. Yeah, the sticking out bead. I'm just going to do that all the way around. Placing a 15-0 in between each delica. Okay, so I'll let you go off and do that, and I'll meet you at the end and we'll step up. Let's step up. So picking up a 15-0, exiting this delica. I'm going to sew through the next sticking out delica, which is this one, and then that 15-0 on the diagonal. Like that. This is what I have. Just going to add another round of 15-0s. So I'll just let you go off and do that, and then we'll, at the end, we will step up. So there you go, add your round on. Okay, let's step up. So exiting here, picking up my 15-0, I'm going to sew through this 15-0 and then the one on the diagonal, and I realized I put a bronze bead there. That was the first bead I put on. That's okay. There we go. So we've stepped up. Now we're ready to move on. Okay, this is what I have so far. So that little bronze bead I put on there that it didn't take out, you should take it out if you accidentally put a bead in. I mean, it is the back, but still, you want it to be perfect all the way around. I just was, you know, for demonstration purposes, I just didn't feel like taking the whole thing out again. All right, so here we are. I'm going to turn my piece, my bezel on the other side, and I'm going to take off that stop bead and thread a needle. And you'll be exiting an interior delica right here. Just going to sew on the diagonal through this one so I can just get to the edge so I can add some more beads. Let's add some 15-0s. So I'm exiting, you know, that delica right here. I'm just going to pick up a 15-0 and sew through the next sticking out bead, which is that delica. And I'm going to do that until I have about, you know, about 10 of my 15-0s on, and then we're going to do a little decrease for the point of the stone. So I'll just let you get to about 10 15-0s and then we'll do our decrease. 15-0s. Here's my last one. Exiting the delica. I'm just, instead of putting a 15-0, I'm just going to sew right through the next delica like that, and that's just going to pull it in just enough for the point. So you see how we don't have a 15-0 there, and then I'm going to put one 15-0 on, so we're going to continue, but before we do that, we're going to put the stone in. But I just wanted to, just for, you know, visual purposes, you can see where we skipped right there. Put my stone in. I'm just going to maneuver that around a little bit and pop it in. And I want to place my stone so that my little decrease up at the top is, the point is sitting right here where I decreased. See that? You'll be able to adjust it a little bit as you go along, but you want to make sure that it's going to end up with the point right there. And then you're just going to add all your 15-0s on until the end, and then we'll step up. Coming down to the end, I'm going to step up. So exiting right here. I'm going to pick up my 15-0. I'm going to sew through this delica and then the 15-0 on the diagonal. So just like that. You can continue working on the back later if you like. You can add some beads, you can do something decorative, you can cover it, but we're going to go ahead and go on with this part here. So we're going to do a little netting, and we're going to do this netting over a 2-bead span. So from here, let me pull in a little bit here because we're going to have to maneuver this a little bit. So over two 15-0s, so we'll add here, it'll come out like that. But you want to make sure when you get down to the point here, you see that your netting goes between these two 15-0s. We're going to sew through these and it will go through these two 15-0s. So we're going to have 13 sets of two 15-0s that we're working across. So you just want to, if you need to, you want to move your thread. So, and I do here, because if I do these two, and these two, I'm going to end up with one here, and I don't want to go across here. I want to go across here. So I'm just going to move my thread over one, so through the delica and this 15-0, and now I have 2, 2, 2, 2, and 2 15-0s. I'm going to come through here and then I'll do these two, and it's going to come out the way I want it to come out. So I hope that makes sense. So here we're exiting a 15-0. Okay, so we're going to pick up 3 15-0s, exiting the 15-0, picking up 3 15-0s. I'm going to sew through the next 15-0. And I'm going to hold it down push it down with my thumb. They're all going to pop up, but they'll all come together. Here we go. So then we have our first little sort of netting on. I'm going to sew through this delica and then this 15-0. I'm going to do that again. 3 15-0s. Exiting this 15-0, I'm going to sew through the next one. I'm just going to hold it down with my thumb like that. Then I'm going to sew through the next delica and the next 15-0. 3 15-0s. Exiting this 15-0, I'm going to sew through this one. I'm going to sew through the next delica. And the next 15-0. So you're going to do that 2 more times, and you see how when I put this netting stitch on and this one, I'm going to, I'll have the end right here and then I'll pop through. But just do the last couple ones and then I will go through the point with you. Okay, last 3 15-0s. I'm exiting right here. Just going to put it here like that. Push down. So here's what it looks like so far. I'm just going to advance my needle. So I'm exiting the 15-0 through these 2 delicas here. This delica right here. Just want to get you around here. So see how you've come around these 3 delicas right here. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I'm exiting that delica. I'm just going to advance through the next 15-0, and then I'm going to start adding my netting stitches again. And if at any point, the tip of the stone is kind of moving out of that area, just hold it there. Well, it'll tighten up as we go along. Mine moved a little bit, so I just kind of shifted a little bit. So now you're going to add your 3 15-0s. And sew through the next 15-0. And when I push it down, so it looks like on the point there. So I'm just going to let you continue on, and then I'll meet you at the end. So just get you started delica, and then through this 15-0. like that. You're going to have to keep popping them down, but once we get our bicones on, everything will stay. All right, so get all your little netting stitches on, and then we'll continue. Last 3 15-0s exiting here. I'm going to sew through this one. Like so. And then I'm going to sew through the delica, the next delica, this 15-0. I want to get up to this point. And then these 2 15-0s. Like that. So now I'm at the point, and all these will come together. So we're gonna, this is where you want to be exiting. Okay, so I'm exiting the 15-0 up here. I'm gonna pick up a 3mm bicone, and I'm gonna sew through the next point of the next little netting group. I'm just gonna do that all the way around, just putting bicones in between. Like so. Nothing's going to change down at the point or anything. It's just going to be going from point to point. So I'll let you do that all the way around, and then we'll put on one last round. Okay, last bicone. I'm going to sew through this point and through the next bicone. Just like so. So this is what I have so far. I'm going to pick up a 15-0 and I'm going to sew through the next bicone. Just placing that little 15-0 there. 15-0 through the next bicone. 15-0. Got it. Just going to do this all the way around. And it's going to give sort of that netting look, and it will all straighten out as we go around. So just like that. Okay, one last 15-0. Through this bicone here. Give it a little pull in. And now the front is done. And so we have this sort of netting look going on. And you can just go ahead and reinforce all the way around. And then we'll just sew this thread in and the front will be done. The larger stone is done. Now I still have my back thread. You can sew this thread in, or you can add another round if you like. And like I said, you can keep adding rounds. You can add, skip and make points all the way around. Whatever you like on the back. I'll let you go ahead and do whatever you want there. I'm just going to leave it like this for the moment. But you could, definitely finish the back. So this is what we have. Now we're going to attach all the pieces. So I went ahead, so forget that I did the chain right here. So I think the best thing to do is just, you don't even have to put thread through anything right now. I just put it here just to hold in place. Place the beads where you want them, the pieces where you think it looks the best. And you want to make sure, so if you do both at the same time, so let's say these aren't sewn together, then you have an idea of where you want those to attach. And that's up to you. You can really attach them anywhere. So what I did here is I've threaded a needle, with, a foot and a half of thread, put on a stop bead, left a tail to sew in. And I just checked, and I'm going to pull in super tight here so you can see where I'm going. So I just looked to where I want to add my kite bead, my first kite bead, and it's this delica right here. So it's just like, here is the bicone here. I come down, and then I'm going to come through this one right here. And that's where I think it's going to look the best. And then, so I've sewn through the delica there where I'm going to attach. So just like that. I'm not counting anything. I just think it looks better when you eyeball this. And so then I'm going to add my kite bead, and then I'm going to sew through 3 beads on the bottom of the teardrop stone. And the way I got that sort of centered was I just put my needle like so, you know, from the point down, and I see that these 3 beads, 1, 2, and 3, are kind of centered. So that middle bead is the center, and then the 2 on the sides. So then I've sewn through these 3 on the bezel, and then put on my next kite bead. And that one we're going to sew to the bezel. So let me just let you get to this point, and then we'll sew the other end on, you know, the other kite bead on. Okay, to sew on the other kite bead, you know, to complete the attaching this here, what I've done here, so here's where I started with the first one. So here's the delica I came through. I'm going to skip one, and then I'm going to sew through the next one in line. So here, skip this one, sew through this one. And when I pull, that should give me a nice, pull out now. So just like that, that should put it on nicely. So we'll just have those 3 pieces sewn on right now. Okay, so get that done and then come back and we'll continue. This is what we have so far. So I've just opened it up so you can see the thread path. See that? So through here, around, through here, and then this delica. So just like that. Next up, I'm going to try and do it on the mat, but I don't know if that's going to work. Let's see, I might have to hold it. It's a little clumsy, you know, just, you know, filming right now. Okay, so here is, so I'm exiting this delica right here. I'm just going to sew back through the kite bead, like so. And then back through the 3 delicas right there. Like so. Let me just get that done. Okay, so just like that. And then I'm going to sew through this kite bead. So just going around like that. And then up through this one. So I've just come around and sort of tightened that up a little bit. So just like that, this is what we have so far. Okay, this is what we have so far. So I've attached, so here I'll give you a thread path again. So you see how everybody's attached like so. I'm exiting this, the delica I started with. I'm just going to pull it just so I get them in place. So I'm exiting this delica right here. I'm going to advance over to this one. So to do that, I'm just going to sew on the diagonal through this one. And then I'm going to sew through this one. So you'll be exiting that delica right here. Okay, so I'm exiting this delica right here. So I came through exiting right here. I'm going to pick up my little, is that the right size? Yes. My 3mm round bead. And I'm going to sew through the middle bead of the 3 that we put on here. So the 3 that we went through here, just going to sew through the middle bead. You should be able to get through there. Just be gentle. Like that. So that's through that middle bead right there. And then I'm going to go back through the bead I just put on, and then back through the delica this way. And that's just going to attach that middle bead. See that? So again, so here's my thread path. I'll pull it out a little bit. See that? Oh, here you go. So just like that. You know, so we came through this delica, went through this bead, we went through the middle bead, we came down again and went around the delica again. So now we're exiting that delica we started with. Give that a pull, and then we'll finish up the edges. Okay, now we're just going to add that 15-0 embellishment around the edges. So we're exiting that middle delica here. I just want to move over to this one. So I'm just going to go on the diagonal. Until I get to this bead right there. So we're exiting the bead. Actually, let's go one more. I think we'll go this one. So we'll move one more. Like that. Okay, so I'm right here. So after the bead where the thread is coming out, I'm going to pick up 3 15-0s, and I'm going to sew through the top hole of this kite bead. Let's see how that looks. Oh yeah, that's good. Right, just like that. I'm exiting the top of the kite bead. I'm going to pick up 3 15-0s, and I'm going to, just for placement, here are the 3 that we, you know, at the bottom of the teardrop bezel. I'm going to go up 2, and I'm going to sew through this one. And then I'm just going to, well, I'll keep going, but we'll just get through this one first. So just like that, and then we're going to advance through the next bead, the next delica, the next 3, the 3 that we, you know, originally attached. So here I'm at the end of the 3. I'm going to move 2 more. Like that. So now I'm exiting the 2 delicas after, you know, that group of 3. Okay, so I have my last 3 15-0s here, and I just want to attach. So I'm going to attach, so here's the bead I'm attached with the, you know, the kite bead. I'm just going to go down 1 here. See if I get through that. So like that. And then I'm going to give those a little pull. So just like that. And then we have that attached. So just like that. So now I'm going to work my way around a little bit. So I'm exiting this bead in here. So this one, I know it's getting a little picky now, right? This one, I'm just going to sew through this one. And this one. Like that. I'm just going to work my way around a little bit. I'm going to sew through this one. I'm just going on the diagonal, this one. And this one. So I'm working my way up to where the where I can come through that kite bead. So just get to this point. So we've come around, done all the embellishment, and for such a simple embellishment, I'm so sorry. It was just, you know, it was just so involved. But once you do it, I think it's more involved because I'm trying to film it so you can see it. But once you do it, you'll kind of understand. You'll see where your thread's going to go. It does seem picky, but it really isn't. It really isn't when you're doing it on your own. This delica right here, I'm going to sew through the kite bead, and I'm just going to sew through so it goes through the back like that. Now I'm exiting the back and I'm exiting through the kite bead on the back. Okay, so I'm on the back, I'm exiting a kite bead. Now if you haven't secured your tail thread, you can just go ahead and move that out of the way and sew that in if you like. So I'm exiting this kite bead right here on the back. I'm going to pick up 3 15-ohs. Now on the other side I did 11-ohs, but I think 3 15-ohs might fit better, so we're kind of like adjusting and sort of designing a little bit on the fly. And I'm going to sew through the next kite bead. I just think the 15-ohs are going to fit better here. And I'm going to take 3 15-ohs. And I'm going to sew, I'm exiting the kite bead. I'm going to sew through the other kite bead right here. So all I want to do, I just want to secure that a little bit. You know, just to keep it, you know, give it, you know, some stability. So I'm just going to sew through. I'm just going to go around again and just tighten that up so we have a little bit of connection, you know, on the back as well as the front. You know, see what fits best here. I think, like I said, I think the 15-ohs are going to fit better. So I just came around a couple of times like that. And you can come through you know, just keep going around until it feels secure. I was thinking we could also sew through these two, and then we could put a 15-oh through the middle of this one, the middle bead of those 3. Let's see if that works. I'm doing a little designing on the fly and then going back through these like that. Okay, that works. Okay, I like that because that's going to hold it nice and snug, so we could do that. And then you just want to sew this thread in. And after all that, this is what we have so far. And we're going to put on the necklace now. So you're going to repeat that on the other side. And like I said earlier, it really is very straightforward. It's just trying to film it that is so difficult. But you'll see, you know, on the diagonal, you know, when you go through your delicas and when you go through the other beads, it will sit nicely if you have it in the right place. So, you know, don't let it, you know, make you nervous. You can, it's really a simple, look how simple the connection is. It's just a matter of just the filming that is the most difficult. So I hope that works. So get the other side done, and then we'll put on the chain. Or the necklace part. Okay, we're going to connect the chain now. So I found these beads in my stash. There's some pearls, and these are some glass melon beads. These are 8mm and 6mm. However, I don't have enough to finish it, so I'll go as far as I can, and we'll put the clasp on. So instead of just stringing a chain, we're going to weave this chain or this necklace. Okay, let's add on the necklace. So I thread my needle with, you know, 4 or 5 feet of thread. You might have to add thread. You can do a really long thread. You can do that as well. I'm going to sew and put a stop bead on, left a tail to sew in. So I'm going to sew through that top delica that's on the point of this bezel. I'm going to pick up 2 11-ohs, and I'm going to sew through the other side of the bead I'm exiting. Just like that. And then I'm going to go around again, so sewing through the 2 11-ohs and the delica. Just want to make it nice and secure up, you know, at this point. So here, this is what I have so far. And I'm just going to sew up one of my 11 seed beads. Don't get caught. So this is what it's going to look like, just like that. Okay, next, we're going to pick up an 8mm bead and 2 11-ohs. I'm just going to sew back down through the 8mm and through this 11-oh. Just going to pull those into place. Just make sure you don't twist your threads. Make sure these two sit pretty flat at the top. Then back up through this 11-oh, the 8mm, and if you can get it, you can do the 11-oh as well. And, you know, if not, you just do them separately. So this is, we have our first bead on. Okay, next up I picked up a 6mm and 2 11-ohs. I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to sew down through this back through the 6mm through the 11-oh, you know, the one that doesn't have the thread coming out of it. Just straighten those out a little bit. So like that. Up through this the other 11-oh and the pearl, or the 6mm and the 11-oh above. So just like that. Now you have 2 beads on, and you're just going to continue doing that. You know, you're just going to add your 8mm and your 2 11-ohs like that, and you're just going to do the same thing, alternating 8mm and your 6mm. So get both sides done, and then come back and let the clasp. Okay, we're going to add this beautiful clasp, but I don't have another one, so I've just went through my beading school, the gorgeous clasps they have in there, and I found a box clasp that, you know, it works the same way as this one, so we can just use this one. Stunning, so gorgeous. All right, so let's add the clasp. Okay, so I've added a couple of jump rings to my clasp because I want to sew in this direction. So I'm going to pick up a 3mm round bead. I'm going to sew through the jump ring. I'm going to pick up a 3mm and I'm going to sew down through this the 11-oh, and we want this ring to sit in between the beads, but we'll get there. So I'm going to sew back up through the 11-oh on the other side and the 3. And at this point, this is a pretty heavy clasp, so you're going to have to push it in there and hold it. Come here, you. Actually, I think I'm just going to go through again. I'm going to go through the ring again, and then we'll pop it. We'll pop the jump ring down. I'm going to go through the 3mm again. I'm going to go through that 11-oh, back up through the 11-oh and the 3mm. Now I'm gonna fight with this to get this attached in there. So I'm just gonna give it a little. I can use my pliers here. Oh, there we go. I'm gonna pop it in with my pliers. Hold it, and I'm going to pick up an 11-oh. I'm going to go through the ring. Now, if I let go, it's going to pop out again. So let me just, okay, there we go. So I put in on an 11-oh. So I'm going to put on 2 11-ohs. I'm going to pop those in, and then I'm going to kind of pull it over so that it sits like so. I hope that you saw that. And then I'm going to go down through this 11-oh again. And this time I'm going to come down the 8mm and the 11/0. Under the 8mm. I'm going to come back through this 11/0, the 8mm. You got it. And I'm going to go through everything again. So I'll just let you go through that. So you're just going to go all the way around again, and then you're going to sew this thread in, and then you're going to do the exact same thing on the other end. Okay, we're back and we're done, and I think it came out so pretty. I love the difference in color, how it makes, you know, it just makes it look sort of less casual and a little more dressy or more vintage and a little more modern. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you make it and post it on Facebook. I want to thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.